future trends, deep insights, industry leaders. This is the iGaming Next podcast with your host, Pierre Lindh.
Maarja, good to see you.
Hi, and actually welcome to Tallinn.
Yes, I was saying before, Harry, as I had a little guide in your offices, that it's the first time in 8 years or something like that. I'm in Tallinn, but it used to be one of my favorite cities to go to when I was younger.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and actually the reason I became a event organizer was because when I was 18, I used to take my group of friends during New Year's Eve, and we used to travel to Tallinn, and I used to organize that for the group, and that was my first experience.
And did you take the traditional cruise from Stockholm to Tallinn then?
I'm afraid to say yes. I don't remember that much of that specific leg of the trip, but the Tallinn trip was always fantastic. So I'm super happy to be back here, and you have beautiful offices in general. So yeah, great.
I think a lot has changed in the last 8 years in Tallinn in general, and it has become this technical hub as such, and our new office is set up right in the heart of it. We're obviously very proud of it.
Yeah, no, I read a report from the European Union the other week that was basically measuring the GDP over the last 10 years in the various countries in Europe. And I think Estonia and the Baltics certainly had the highest GDP growth of any country in Europe. And it seems to be this tech push that has been happening in Tallinn and Estonia that have really increased the standard of living.
Yes, because it is, I don't know actually what's exactly causing it, but for some reason the innovations almost like start from here. We've got a lot of great startup companies around us as well. So obviously Skype started from here. We've got Wise, We've got Bolt, we have iGaming.
Yes, I guess the iGaming is the next conglomerate here. You mentioned now that you have nearly like 600 people, and most of them residing in Tallinn, and you have plans. You were telling me you have plans to build new buildings and expand over the city. And can you tell us a little bit more? I mean, let's start from the beginning here. I mean, you've been working with Tim over the last 11 years. Tim Heath, obviously the founder of iGaming. You're now the CEO of iGaming Group. You have filled Tim's shoes, so to say. But you started as customer support in the company, and I would just love to start on that from the very beginning. You know, I mean, I think it's such an inspiring journey that you have made, and I think this is what really, we've been saying it for years, that this is such a unique industry, the iGaming industry, in the sense that you can start from scratch, and if you have talent, you will have a rocket career, and the industry is really unique in that sense. So I would love to hear your story, like how you started from customer support, and how did you get to where you are now?
True. I think you are very right in saying that the industry itself is very unique, and it's not just gaming, it's the crypto part as well.
Right.
Everything is very fast-paced, and actually this has allowed us to shape our culture the way that we see fit according to this as well. I would say though that our culture and principles are quite different from what you would see in perhaps more regular gaming companies even. And the growth itself over the years has been a true roller coaster journey. So I started in 2010, and I was actually doing my university practice. So I was looking for an opportunity to just work for a few months, and I took up the customer support agent role, whilst the team consisted only of 6 people. It's quite bizarre to think back to this time, because the company itself obviously was vastly different from what we've built up by today. we didn't have anything. We didn't have any frameworks. Our tech was still very basic. We were actually offering a whole other product. We were mostly in the poker industry, and we were actually acting as almost like master affiliates with our own platform, pushing out different white labels for our affiliates and so forth. I have a financial background myself, so it was only a natural progression for me to take on finance, because back then, 10 years ago, Tim was the one who did accounting. We obviously had someone hired outside to take care of our annual reports and whatnot, but the invoicing and the payments, this was all Tim Heath personally, which is quite funny to think about now. It's always been very data-driven. So I slowly but gradually started building my team up in finance, but I was still very involved across the business or across the team, I would say. I do think that having this perspective from customers directly is very important, and this probably has given me the biggest edge as a leader as well, that I have almost like traveled through the different verticals throughout the business. In fact, at some point I was even doing the SEO links. So I have been around
you started from scratch. I mean, literally from scratch.
Yeah. The beauty of this is that I actually ended up very much growing together with the business. So what started out as a job for university practice for a short period of time, it felt like a good match. It felt that I was a part of a really strong team, and I think that that's what created this environment that supported my career growth as such. So from 2013, we were very much at the crossroads. We had to shut down our previous business venture and actually think about like what are we going to do from here, and that's actually when we got into crypto. So Reijo, our CTO, he was the one who said that guys, have you heard about bitcoins? And I don't know why, but we didn't actually even second guess it. So the next moment we opened up a site called Coin Poker initially, and casino was on there as a secondary product. And few months in already, we saw the trend lines actually very fast moving towards the casino product in crypto rather than the poker one. And this is when we actually decided to open up the very first licensed Bitcoin casino, BitCasino. I think our team was at 30-odd people at that time, and we had moved from our first, we had gone through 2 offices by that time, and we moved to this beautiful office in Tallinn city center and thought that, okay, this is going to be our home for the next few years at least. 6 months in, we had outgrown it. But to be honest, I think with every office, I can almost like allocate a chapter of our business towards this. And by the time we moved to Vereni office, that's what this is the office that I'm talking about. This is where coin gaming really started out from, and that's where we actually started expanding our business in general as well. So starting from 30 people around that time, we went through quite a quick growth. And I was still mostly in finance team, building up my team of accountants. But I obviously dealt with a bit of HR, a bit of events planning, a bit of all of it. And then it must have been 2018. We had already a big casino going nicely. Sportsbet was, the initial version was already being redesigned. And we again were thinking that, okay, like we almost have to not give up the startup mentality, but we need to become a proper gaming entity. So we ended up actually bringing quite a lot of our senior management in from other companies who had this previous experience, and they could actually help us build the business to the next stage. And that's when I took on the COO role. So that was now 3.5 years ago, around that. And this period in my life, like, I think the COO role in general is probably one of the most difficult roles.
Stressful position, right? Because you were kind of hand in hand with the CEO, and as the left-hand person of the CEO, and having to deal with.
Exactly, you're the person on the ground having to actually balance all of the different departments, projects, and making sure that the expectations from the CEO are still met. Yeah. And if you have met Tim Heath, then you know that he's
not like a normal CEO.
No. But this was probably this was the time in my life where I probably really transformed into this proper leadership position. And then fast forwarding to 12 months ago, we were having a conversation with Tim, and as the Yolo investments had started up quite nicely, and he was, he's an ideas man, he's the visionary, and this is what he does best. Yet, as a CEO, he was stuck in this, I don't want to call it nitty-gritties because that's what I do now, but still he had to deal with things that he didn't particularly enjoy. Implementing all sorts of frameworks, making sure that the resource use is effective, making sure that the plans are implemented in a sustainable way. All of the topics that actually took his mind off from being the visionary that he is. So we were having this casual conversation, and we were on phone, and he was. He popped a question asking, like, Maarja, are you ready for the next stage in your life? And
how do you feel?
And that was like, I think I was.
So that sounds like a proposal.
Well.
Either or, yeah.
It was probably something that I did not expect coming because. Tim, as well as myself, both of us have been very invested into this company, and I know it's not probably the best to say, but coin gaming has been our baby in that sense. Like we started it out from the very scratch and everything.
And you've seen the whole growth. I mean, it becomes a part of you.
A huge part.
Yeah, because you're shaping it, you're building it, and it's not just like a job where you go home 6 p.m. and you shut off. You know, it becomes a part of who you are. It's like a part of your personality. Almost, stepping away from that will bring like a massive empty feeling almost. So of course, course, it's a part of who you are, and that's in a way where you say it's like your baby. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that you worded this way, because I've just recently found myself from thinking that okay, so what is Maarja's identity beyond this business? Because it is something that I do care about.
But in a way, I think, I mean, we talked about, the building that you moved into here, and how you have been an integral part in designing this building. And in a way, you converge with the company because you bring your identity into the organization, right? So that's maybe why it's so difficult to kind of take a step away from it, or to separate your identity, because you have put your identity into this organization, not the other way around, perhaps, or maybe there's a bit of a mix, I mean.
Yeah, it's a fair point, actually. But then everything that happened actually after this August last year, so we made the change start of September. It was 7th of September that we announced positions change, which is my birthday. It was my 30th birthday, actually. Wow. To be fair. This journey after this, so the last 10 months or so, they've been so rewarding, and I think it's a combination of a few things. I think stepping into the CEO role, I obviously had my own questions. How would all of this work out? Because I know, and I'm actually so proud of Tim as well, that how well he has stepped up to his member of the board role, and mostly focusing on the investment side of things. But at the same time, what I gained was Anita, and having Anita as a CEO by my side. That's actually proven out to be a very, very special duo as well. And we all of the changes that we've put in place since last autumn, our financial results have just been trending like this, and we've actually managed to do so much good change, and it's just incredible how long way passion can go.
Yeah, it must be. I mean, because Tim has obviously. He's very colorful, everyone looks up to him, and he's been a strong leader in this organization. So to fill those shoes must be a challenge in its own right.
Well, this was my first ground rule, that I was never actually there to replace Tim. Tim is Tim, and he will always be there. He has his own set of skills, and he's the inspiration for all of us. I was there to fill my own vision of the next CEO role that the business needed at that time.
Yeah, because I can imagine that a lot of CEOs that replace a founder, a CEO, they would be, let's say, questioning, shall I continuing on on the same strategy, or not feeling as comfortable to kind of take their own vision and run with it. So that must have been something for you. You have obviously been in a company for a long time, and you have your vision, and it seems that by getting the trust from Tim to run the company, you feel more comfortable that you have your way of doing things, and
Absolutely.
That's in the end of the day what a strong leader does, right?
Yeah, and also what I would actually add to this is that the combination of the three of us, so Tim, myself, and Anita, plus my senior management in general, this is where the strength of this company starts from. And the fact that we are all so different, that's what is complementing the whole synergy between us. obviously having worked alongside him for almost 12 years is giving me an advantage as well, like knowing what are his principles, and actually knowing that our like big rocks for the action plan are quite matching. That's just, this has helped me to build on from here.
Yeah. So now we're here, 2021. I mean, you're in a fantastic building here. You're expanding in Tallinn. Coin Gaming Group is going from strength to strength. But I know that there is some news that is coming up here now as well. That you are basically going to do a rebrand. And I'll be really excited to hear you talk about kind of the next phase of the journey of Coin Gaming Group, because now it's the rocket is about to take off here, right?
Well, to be honest, you are one of the first ones to find out about this. And I personally, I am super excited around this as well, because I think identifying the real DNA and actually labeling it correctly has become so much more important as we have grown as a business. My employees and my teammates, they want to know, who are we? What can we call ourselves? Where do we belong to? And what are we all about? So Coin Gaming as a name, I have to admit that it's been kind of bittersweet planning the retirement of this name. But yet I am aware that when we first started using this brand, we were a team of 30, only with a few brands that were actually very, very gaming focused. Well, crypto and gaming, so Coin Gaming. And that's where it all started out from. However, for quite some time now, probably at least for the last year, if not more, we've almost felt like this name has started to limit us, because the focus of this is still relatively narrow, and our ambitions certainly are not. Yes, and to be honest, so after Tim and the team got into the investment side more, our investment vehicle is called Yolo Investments as well. There's almost like this split that, oh, this is Yolo Investments and this is Coin Gaming, but actually, truth be told, we are all one team, and we all have one goal. So I think it's time that we actually bring it all back under the same umbrella. Coming up with the name for this group was actually quite a difficult task. But when we started thinking about like, who are we? What's our DNA? So we're fun, fast, and fair. We want to be the disruptors of the industry. We want to move fast. We want to be flexible. We want to adapt to our customer needs, and we want to be able to offer our customers the best kind of experience. And this isn't only related to a gaming experience. It's the whole set that comes together. And YOLO, in essence, you only live once. This represents us and the way that we do things and the way that we approach our projects so perfectly.
Yeah. So the only thing that's missing is Justin Bieber as the brand ambassador now, and then you're sorted.
Well, we'll stick with Baruto and a few other. We'll see.
So you will rebrand, you will retire Coin Gaming Group, and YOLO is the brand that you are going to use for the group as you go forward, essentially.
Correct. So in essence, there will be almost like a matrix to represent our ecosystem. It will be governed by Yolo Group. Obviously, on one side, we will have Yolo Investments, which is dealing with venture capital funds. And then underneath, we will have one arm that's Yolo Entertainment. This is to cover anything that we had under Coin Gaming, so our gaming brands. We'll have Yolo Ventures, which is more about the strategic partnership, and then Yolo Finance to cover anything fintech, banking, and finance related.
Right. So essentially. What you will be focusing on as you go forward, or it seems more like as you are growing, the focus is widening more and more in the company. So whereas before Coin Gaming Group was the big focus, now Yolo and the investments and the partnerships and the ecosystem is becoming more the focus here. And in our prep call that we had last week, which was really a great prep call, by the way, I think that in its own right would have been a great podcast. But you talked about the ecosystem that you are building, and for me, I've been, I got to know Tim. I've known Tim for many years, but I got to know Tim now when we were seeking investment in iGaming Next last year, and I got to understand better kind of what Yolo has as its purpose and kind of how you're growing, how you're creating this ecosystem, and it really struck me as that you are creating something very unique in the iGaming industry. I don't know if there is any parallels, any comparisons in the industry with a group that is doing what you guys are doing. There are some operators who wants to control their content, they want to control their supply chain, but what you guys are doing is something much bigger. Starting a bank, controlling the banking, controlling the payments. I mean, as well as the other part of the various operations within this ecosystem. So, can you talk a bit more, like, what are your goals with this ecosystem? Like, why are you creating this ecosystem of entities?
That's a really good question, and I think this actually has a lot to. It has a lot to do with our history. As many other businesses, we obviously had to learn our lessons along the way as well. And back in 2012, we actually went through a very, very messy situation where our own tech and platform wasn't as advanced. So we actually had to outsource some of the very core functions to a third party. And what happened from there on was that our partners basically they ran away with our customers' funds, and we were left there to clean up, and we were responsible with our own names because the brand was ours and it was our UBOs who were beneath it. We learned some crucial lessons from that era, and one of them actually was that we will never let go of the control of our core principles and functions, so such as technology, finance, data, and anything that's sensitive to our IP. We ended up coming out stronger from the other end, but I think this particular time in our business was very much what defined us. It was really, it was a really difficult time in that sense. I don't know how much we've disclosed it before, but Tim's parents were the ones who ended up helping us out.
Wow.
We called it actually Mom and Dad Friendly Finance. And whilst we had to pay out the balances that were owed to the customers, and we didn't get anything back from the partners at that time, then obviously we were having a very, very difficult time to only make ends meet.
Well, it must. I mean, psychologically, that must have been a really tough few, I don't know, weeks or months or something like waking up, going to work, and just having this hanging over you. I mean,
to be honest, I don't think that I never second guessed it. So actually, during this most difficult time, we had no one resigned. We actually put our heads down and we worked as one collective team to get through this because we
I get chills hearing this. I mean, it's incredible.
It was very much one for all and all for one.
Wow, that's what defines the team. I mean, going through these difficult times is. I mean, you were forged as a team. If you can do that, you can do anything.
Anything, but it's. So I was doing the accounting back then, and there were months where I had to select whether I'll pay the tax invoice, whether I'll do all of the payroll or not, or do I pay for the electricity. And that's this is actually a thought that has stuck with us. So after all of these years, and
Right.
even today, we still ask the question, who is paying for the electricity? But it's,
Don't forget your roots. I mean, that's where you come from, right?
Yeah.
Both feet on the ground and.
yeah, and you can't. This is the thing, you can't take anything for granted. After having to earn every single euro or Bitcoin and or any other currency that we have here, you do not want to give it up for nothing. So all of the decisions that we have made have been very much around, is it keeping the customer at the center of the universe, because the customer is at the end of the day the one who pays for our electricity, or are we as a collective team actually bringing this long-term value? So yeah, this particular period obviously has a very key role in everything that came afterwards, because this was the very first time where we decided to take control of our own success and started building up this fantastic ecosystem that we have ongoing by now. But even then, so we came in and we truly believed in this great vision of opening up gaming experience in crypto, which back then, whilst Bitcoin was worth like 120 euros, who on earth would have believed in it? Exactly. So when Tim, I still remember it so clearly, when Tim was going on all of these conferences to ICE and whatnot, and he was the one having to chase up everyone, like, telling about his ideas that like crypto this and crypto that, and he was dismissed. And now it is actually incredible to think back that we as a very, very small team stayed so strictly true to our vision, and we worked against it. And look where it got us.
Yeah. I get chills when you speak about this, because it's such an amazing story, and it's and the fact that you never forget those roots of where you come from and things. And I've heard this story actually from other people who said this as well, that Tim Tim was trying to pitch for investments or things, and people just wouldn't take the meetings, and they didn't take him seriously, and like look now where you are, and creating this ecosystem, and now Tim is in these shoes when he is looking for other people kind of pitching for their ideas, and I'm sure that when you have proposals in front of you, and keeping in mind this fact that sometimes these nuggets of gold doesn't maybe come from the most obvious places always, so the ability to listen to various proposals that come from maybe not the most well-known people. In our case, it was like that. We didn't know Tim, but he listened to us. And I was amazed by that actually in our investment process, that someone like Tim would be so open to really learn and understand who we are and where we come from, and these things, even though we didn't particularly have like a massive track record to show and things, and that really inspires us as well, to want to do the best that we can, because we have gotten this chance now to kind of be a part of this and things. Yeah, and so now when you look forward, Maarja, and you're now rebranding to Yolo Group, what will how are you looking to expand and leverage this ecosystem that you have? Can you talk a little bit more about where the synergies are within Yolo and how these entities will kind of help each other, let's say?
Absolutely. So up until a certain point, we because we had been burnt, we actually wanted to build everything in-house and to have full control over everything, which is not sensible either. So at some point, whilst we had available financing and resources available, we started looking outside to see whether there are any other startups that we could support or fund or work together with them. And that was already prior to actually coming up with the idea of this official investment fund. And after meeting all of these different people and seeing how great ideas there are out there, and how sometimes these amazing entrepreneurs, they just won't get to make their dreams come true because they either lack confidence, they lack maybe this business management part, data part, and all of these challenges that we were faced with as well as we started out from scratch. And Tim, alongside with other general partners that we have by today, I think their greatest pleasure actually is to be in the mentor shoes and very much actively help all of these startups to build themselves up. And through this, we can actually, we can almost like switch all of these smart startups into our extended Yolo family, which for me is actually where the synergy starts from. So there is power in crowds, I would say, especially when the infra has been set up smartly. So obviously, first of all, we only focused on what would benefit us as a group. So initially, having been just the operator, we thought that okay, we'll start developing our own games. Fine, that's a separate diversified revenue stream for us. What else do we need? We'll build up a game aggregator. Once this was supporting our in-house brands, we actually pushed it out to the B2B market. So now it's standing on its own 2 feet. That's called Hub 88. then we started thinking about what are other areas that we would need support from. So we started with our own accounting software, our own chat or communications software. And initially the focus very much was how do we help our group benefit from it and grow through that. By now we also have the trading engine, and in total I think we've got almost 55 different projects ongoing, which is a relatively significant number. However, we still felt that we can't get everywhere, and we can't build all of the perfect solutions out by ourselves. So this is where all of the small startups with their great ideas come in. And initially, we were again focused on what's the direct value to our existing ecosystem or the group. But by now, the most incredible thing with adding more puzzle pieces to this ecosystem has actually been the fact that these startups or these companies are connecting with one another as well, and the benefit raises from there. Right. So in essence, our mission has almost become to bring all of the smart people, all of the potential, all of the synergy together, and all of us are a winner from this.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're creating an ecosystem with small bubbles, and whenever a new bubble is added, all the other bubbles help this bubble, and this bubble help all the other bubbles. So it becomes an exponential growth within this ecosystem. That's very interesting to hear. And I mean, it begs the question a little bit. I mean, let's take a step back here, Maarja. Let's sit in the helicopter and look down on this ecosystem for a bit. I mean, you are not a normal company. We have established that, right? And so not only are you an iGaming operator, you're also creating this ecosystem where you basically want to control the entire iGaming ecosystem within in-house, let's say. And not only that, but you're also at the forefront of technology, where you're also incorporating blockchain and crypto into this, and trying to figure out how you can leverage these technologies in order to basically be a tech company at the forefront of development. I mean, I spoke to Tim the other day about the bank that you are now incorporating, which is also going to be leveraging blockchain and crypto solutions here in order to move money and payments in an instant, and it's all on the edge as you are building this massive ecosystem. I mean, it begs the question, like, first of all, I want to know, do you sometimes wake up in the morning and you're like, damn, I wish I could just be the CEO of like a simple company to deal with? And secondly, what is the end goal? What's the end goal? What's the end play for you guys? Will you ever stop trying to grow exponentially? Because it seems very much like every day for years you're pushing the limits. Yeah,
two very good questions. Actually,
especially the waking up in the morning.
Actually, the first one, no, I've never wanted this to be any different. It would lose its beauty, wouldn't it? So, because the fact that it is so hectic and there is this almost like a good chaos and constant progression ongoing, that's what keeps us alive. YOLO. You only live once. You need to actually maximize what you are doing with your life. And me, in my role, I strongly believe in this. Obviously, the journey itself, it isn't easy, especially when you are trying to implement projects or solutions that are perhaps not as common on the market yet. So you need to force and push the boundaries very, very hard in order to make the change happen. And that's hard. It's supposed to be hard, otherwise everyone would do it. It is, in that sense, not all days are brothers. Sure. There's a saying about this, but without this constant change, we just wouldn't be us. I think we would lose the very, very core DNA of what we always have been about.
Right. There's a very known fact in the world of psychology as well, which is, you ask the question, what's the purpose of life, or what's real happiness, let's say. And the answer to that from a psychological point of view is when you have 1 foot in the known, where you're comfortable, and 1 foot in the unknown, that is the place where the magic happens. Because if you have your both feet in the known, you're complacent. It's the days are the same and nothing exciting happens. So if you have both feet in the unknown, you kind of don't know what you're doing. So but when you have 1 foot in the known and 1 foot in the unknown, that's where the magic happens. And everyone knows how that feels like, because when you have a really interesting conversation, what we have now, we're exploring different topics and ideas and these things. That's the moment where you have 1 foot in the known and 1 foot in the unknown, and time kind of disappears in a way.
That's so true.
So the argument is that you want to be in this spot as for your whole life. You want to be as much as you can in this spot where you have the 1 foot in the known and 1 foot in the unknown. And what you don't want is to become complacent. And so when you kind of don't have these dreams or these aspirations or values or goals or but if you have this noble goal, you want to create something that is truly different, that's truly going to change an industry. That's where also you find this ungodly motivation to go up and work these hours that's needed in order to get a bit closer to this goal every day, right? And in a way, I think that is how you build a purposeful and meaningful life. I think it doesn't necessarily have to be that you build a billion, euro company or whatever. No. But if you're pushing those limits every day, trying to find out more about yourself or question yourself or whatever it may be, that is the closest you can come to a real noble purpose in life, to become a little bit better.
I agree. I really like how you have defined it, because one of my own mantras that I truly believe in is growth and comfort do not coexist, and it's just something that's so true. Right. If you are in your comfort zone, then you'll end up doing what you always have been doing, and nothing will ever change, and you'll get left behind.
Yeah, exactly. It's why doesn't everyone work towards being the best they can be, or the amazing? Because it's hard, because it's difficult. I mean, and it's uncomfortable. It's really, really, really hard. And it's why even go this path? There's almost there's two paths in life to go. It's one of them is towards this noble goal, right? But then it's difficult. There'll be challenges and obstacles along the way, and then the other way is kind of towards chaos and not kind of caring about where you're heading, but you don't really care about what's happening around you either. Yeah. It's comfortable, but then you're 30, 35, 40, and nothing is happening at the end of the day. And it's just, for some reason, some people, they choose this noble path, and you can see that is in essence what this company is trying to do, right? And also by having that ethos, by not being complacent, a lot of organizations become complacent. They protect what they have, right? They, rather than trying to do something new, they try to protect what they have and disable others from changing an industry. For example, land-based casinos in the United States with Sheldon Adelson, who was the legendary founder and CEO of Sands Casino, which was the biggest gambling company in the world until last week, when our very own online gambling company Evolution now became the biggest gambling company in the world. The changing of the guards, online is taking over. But in any case, Sheldon Adelson for years and years and years, he was fighting against this adoption of online gambling because he wanted to protect his land-based entities, right? And in the end of the day, you can just delay this progress because it's like trying to fight a hurricane. It's not going to be possible. And now we see this changing of the guard, where the online organizations are outpacing the land-based side. So the organizations who have this mindset of taking risk, you can always see them like the knight with the sword fighting the dragon. They are the ones who will eventually take over and things. And so I think you should have kudos for having that type of personality as a young CEO, taking this company and trying to take it to the next level. And God knows what's behind the corner, right? I mean, it must be difficult for you to know where things are heading sometimes, I would imagine, because these things are changing all the time, right?
But that's regular. That's normal, I would say. You asked about what's the end goal, and I don't know. I really do not know. And to be honest, I think that's beyond the point as well. It is about the journey, and it is about the core principles that we want to take on this journey. And if we can get this success synergy that we have already created here somehow written down and take it with us to our next chapters, then frankly speaking, it doesn't matter what are the specific projects or the industries. We'll have to wait and see what the customer wants.
Yeah. I like that core principle. It's all about what the customers at the end of the day, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Yeah. So it begs also the question, yourself, Maarja. I mean, you told the story in the beginning of the podcast. Say you went from being customer support to CEO in a very short space of time, and now you're the leader of this big organization. Like, what's your thoughts on leadership in general? Like, how do you inspire your organization? What's your...
It's something that I actually ask from myself probably every single day. In general, I believe in empowering as well as this positive mentorship, because if you build up very strong relationships with your peers and with your coworkers and your teams, first of all, the feedback, either a positive one or a constructive feedback, will go a much longer way. And also, if someone really believes in you, then you actually want to be the best version of yourself. It's exactly like you told me about Tim and him making a decision, investing into you and listening to you. You want to actually own up to his expectations, and you want to do the best job that you can. So I think this positive mindset and actually being there to support all of my employees, making this effort to go have lunch downstairs in the canteen with people that I might not see every day, or waking up 5:30 in the morning to come into office and spend some time with night shift guys who normally don't see anyone at the office. I think that's what true leadership is about. And the fact that I have been there, I've been through every single vertical of the business. I know what all of them are going through, and I hope that I can set a good example by myself. So that the high expectations that I have, not only do I expect them to own up to this, but I act accordingly as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they can see that you are there for them. And I would imagine that especially for the junior employees, knowing the journey that you have had, it must make them feel as well that, well, if you can do that, then it's not impossible that they can do that, right?
Absolutely. And this is actually so true that everything is possible as long as you truly have the passion about not just your own role and your job description, but you really want to make a difference. You want to do something bigger. You want to be a part of something really cool.
Yeah.
Then just God knows where the journey will take you.
I remember as well being a junior employee thinking that the C-levels in the organization that I work for were something special, like they came from something different. They've been schooled to become C-levels since they were 8 years old, and they were always going to be that. And coming from a more humble beginning, you are not able to make that journey. That's kind of the thoughts I was walking around with.
Actually, a really funny story on this. So it must have been actually just a few weeks ago when I was having lunch with our people team, just randomly. It was unplanned. I popped down to the canteen and I was just checking who's there, and I sat down to the table, and we were having regular conversations, not even about work. It was about life in general. And one of the members of this team, she had joined just a few weeks before that. And she ended up coming to me afterwards as a part of her onboarding procedures. She had a one-to-one with me. And you know what she told me? She said, Maarja, I thought whether to tell this to you or not, but I can't believe that you are just a person. And this made me think really about the whole the roles, the hierarchy that's perhaps more present in traditional corporates than we have in our organization. But I am just a regular person, and that I actually I am in there together with them to strive for the same goals. It's no different.
Oh. And it's incredible to have a leadership like that. I mean, one of my best friends is Lasse Marsug, and he had also a similar journey. He went from being a affiliate manager in a fairly small organization to become the CEO of a €1 billion company, which was Common, in 6 years.
Oh, wow.
And he always had this ethos of, he really was, he did everything right, he worked really hard, and he earned it, And something that he talks a lot about, because Lassen is a very imposing figure when you see him. He has this big beard, and he's a big guy, like he trains, he works out, and so you look at him and you are a bit almost a bit like he's very imposing, so you get a bit scared by Lassen. But then Lassen talks a lot about the importance of daring to show that you are a human being as a leader, and not having this chip on your shoulder that you want to show your employees that you are above them, or that they should be under you and whatnot. And so what happens is he becomes like a role model to the younger guys, especially. Mm-hmm. And the younger guys really need these type of role models that they can look up to. So in that organization, he was this big masculine guy, but at the same time he wasn't scared to talk about his feelings. Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting.
Yeah. And so it seems to me quite clear that if we look at more modern leadership in general, that is the way to inspire your younger stuff. It's not about to be this strong leader and just forcing everyone to your direction, so to say. It's much more about showing that you are a competent leader, but also inspiring the staff to go on their own journey in order to be the best versions of themselves. And in the end of the day, for the organization, that would seem to be the best strategy for management. You want your employees to feel that they can be the best versions of themselves in this organization.
Absolutely, and I want them to think about what are their specific strengths, because at the end of the day, this combination of all of these individuals, this is what makes us us. I wouldn't change it for anything.
What's a normal day in your life, Maarja? Like what do you? I'm really curious. Like, what does a CEO do? Like
a normal day.
Yeah. Okay, a normal day.
It's this is a very difficult question because every single day is you don't know what you will be up against. But my calendar is my Bible, so everything work-wise or even personal-wise, I use my calendar and I go by it. If there is something missing from my calendar, then I'm quite lost. Yeah. But in that sense, I am still quite involved in overall operations as well, especially when it comes to finance, legal, and people side of things. So there are always loads of topics to look into in that regard and analyze and make sure that we're still heading to the right direction. We are trying to restructure the whole business, so I've tried to just put my thoughts and my vision onto a paper and try and make this into an action plan. Look, there are so many ongoing topics. As I mentioned, we've got 55 different products, and maybe not all of them will need my attention all at once, but it is pretty hectic.
I'd imagine, because I'm asking the question because, again, when I go back to my roots, I was always I didn't know what the CEO was doing when I was younger years in my own career. So it's interesting to kind of know where are the focuses and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I have another question as well. Work-life balance, as a CEO. Like I'm privileged enough to know some CEOs, and some handle this better than others, let's say. Some struggle more than others. What's your approach to work-life balance in order to be the best version of yourself and work hard, but also not burn out, so to say?
It's probably one of the most challenging ones that I like. It doesn't work like this, that I'm okay, I've got balance and job done, tick. It's actually something that I need to face every single day when I wake up, and it is a very conscious effort that I make as well, because otherwise if I go only to one extreme, then obviously I will not be good at either part. I've always giggled a bit when people talk about keeping their work life and personal life separate, like they were two different individuals. Because in my humble opinion, all of us only have one life, and you need to juggle and just find ways to make all of the different aspects in your one life work. I do focus quite a lot on my my mind and my body, so I work out regularly. I listen to podcasts. I spend time with my family, with my loved ones, with my friends, and just try to really switch off, because as you probably know as well, if an official workday is over, this still leaves you with the thoughts, and you will not be able to rest or take time off if you're just lying on the sofa and doing nothing. It doesn't work like this. Normally I would have to do something active or something completely different, just to focus on something else for a moment, to be able to come back the next day and be the best version of myself. But there is. I suck at working from home. I really prefer coming in because it almost does provide me with this separation a bit. So when I wake up, I normally go for a training session or something like this, and then I come into office, I open the office door, and I'm like, here I am, I'm ready for the day, and bring it on.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. It's good what you're saying. It's hard to switch off when you go, because you know that there are some things, some deadlines that need to be kept, or there's always something in the background, and it keeps spinning in your head. And Lasse, my friend, he talked about this as well. It's like when you approach the weekend, it's really important to kind of clear the inbox, for example, as like one of the like clear KPIs in order to just feel okay to go into the weekend. And I think it's something that a lot of people don't realize, but being in these high pressure positions, you really need to be aware, like mentally, how things affect you, and mentally how you keep yourself in a good place, because easily it can go to a place where it becomes a negative spiral, and you can find enough work to keep you busy 24 hours of the day. Sure. I mean, more than that easily. So at some point you have to be able to say like, no, I'm not going to do this. Now this will have to wait. And it's difficult sometimes because you have pressure, you have all these people who are relying on you, and it's a skill and a strength, to be able to step away and do what is needed. Yeah.
I completely resonate with this thought, and what I will add on top of this is that I am still learning as well. Yeah. I'm far from perfect in that regard. So on a Sunday night, I really like to summarize my week and prepare for the next week. And every time that I open up my calendar for next week, I become anxious, and I get all of these questions like oh my God, like will I get through the week, and how will I do this, and how will I tackle that, and like there is so much pressure, and I think this is only natural, and it's very humane to feel all of these emotions. And emotions are very powerful. You just need to get to know yourself to figure out what's the best way to untangle it. Yeah. I've got a really good parallel to bring. I went mountain skiing for the first time in my life this winter. And in Estonia, we actually don't have proper mountains, but there I was standing on the top of the so-called mountain, and it felt so scary. I was like, I'll stay here. I'm not going down there. Someone will have to carry me down there on their lap. And a friend of mine, she started teaching me to say that you don't have to look at the whole journey. Just focus on going like this, and just basically look what's in front of you. And once you can conquer this, you'll conquer the next path. And before you notice, you've already come all the way down there. And I did it. And actually, it wasn't scary at all. I got through it without any problem. But the way that I did it was that I actually took up only the pieces that I could chew in once, and that's a mentality that I've brought with me now to my day-to-day job as well, that I look at the whole week's agenda. I know that it's too much for anyone to handle, and then I'll come in for the day, I'll sort this day out, and I'll just keep on ticking the boxes, and before I know it, I've already reached a lot of the goals.
Yeah. I love that analogy. It's great, and this is what I think a lot of people under high pressure, whether it being sport professionals or people who run marathons, ultra marathons, whatever it may be, is just to focus on the next stroke if you're swimming or if you're climbing a mountain, just one step in front of the other, and they kind of don't look at the whole mountain because it just seems so impossible, right?
Yeah.
When you look at the
I'm getting the chills now.
yeah. I can recognize that too, and I don't know if this is something I thought about this for myself. I don't know if this is something you feel as well, but it's especially difficult when you have a couple of days off. So in the weekend, you manage to relax a bit, the head spinning a bit slower, and then you are going into the next week, and it's just that moment when you step into the week where you get overwhelmed every time.
I actually thought that I was the only one who felt this.
We are the same, yeah. And then when Wednesday comes, waking up today, then you're in the middle of the week, right? So now you're in like a pace, so to say. But every time you slow down and then get back up again, that's when it feels so big because you're looking at this week ahead. All right, so that's yeah. All right, that's something that is not only us, and then that's something that seems to be more normal. But that's also something, I think processing these thoughts and processing kind of how you function. So that, for example, I think about this like, okay, I know that when I'm Sunday evening and I look at my week, I know that it will feel overwhelming, so I try to figure out ways how to not produce that feeling, because that feeling also produces anxiety and it's not a positive emotion, let's say. And if you want to be able to kind of keep this candle burning for as long as possible, you need to be able to understand these feelings and what they produce, and in order to keep yourself mentally well, so to say. And there's a great saying, by the way, as well, by a UFC champion. His name is Israel Adesanya. He's a young guy, and he became the champion in the UFC, the fighting organization, when he was very young. And the funny thing with becoming a champion as a fighter is that exactly what you talked about before. It's the journey that gives you the motivation, but once you reach the goal, it's an empty feeling. Right, so for these fighters, when they become a champion, now they're on the top of the mountain, and then they are like, what now? They have been going through all this grind, all this hard work, and then how do you then find motivation for the next fight? Because now you are fighting to lose. You're not fighting to win something, and this is very, very detrimental to a lot of fighters. It's also like, when you go into a fight, you feel in great shape, and then afterwards you don't have the same motivation, so you become a little bit worse and worse and worse. So the mental swings in that game is huge. I mean, there's lots and lots of fighters who are struggling mentally because of those big swings. And Israel Adesanya, he says that not everyone is mentally ill, but if you don't take care of your mental health, sooner or later you will become mentally unwell. And this is such a great, because you need to preempt those feelings, right? You need to be ahead of that, so that it's not, you don't take care of it when it's too late, so to say.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I'm actually very happy to see that people are starting to talk about it more, because I think the sense of I'm not alone in this goes a long way, that it's natural what I'm feeling, and I need to manage this, I need to deal with it. But I'm not the only creeper out there in that sense. It is important that people share their experience, and I think from a leadership perspective as well, we are all human, and I think it's only normal and natural to feel all of these states of emotions.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes them feel alive. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't want to just wake up feeling nothing. If you are struggling a lot, it also means that the pendulum is swing in the other direction. You can only feel as good as you can feel bad. So sometimes you have to take the the good with the bad. You know what I mean? In order to get this as much as possible out of life, I think.
I agree. Well, if everything was always great, then you even wouldn't know that it's great.
You would panic. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't just feel good always. There's this idea of the utopia where you produce the perfect. It's like in the movie Matrix. The architect of the Matrix, he talks about at first they designed this world where everything was perfect, but people just ended up tearing it down because there is no such thing as living perfect or whatever. You need both sides in order to appreciate them.
Yeah. Agree.
Maarja, we've been talking for a long time here actually, but I want to jump into a last topic today as well. This has been fantastic, by the way. I'm super happy we managed to make this happen, and I've had you actually as one of my points in my to-do list for a very long time actually, because I really wanted to reach out to you at some point and do this. So I'm really happy that we are doing this now.
I'm really happy that we're doing it in person because over Zoom.
So much more fun, yeah. Bitcoin, crypto. I want to jump into this field now. I mean, you've been in this since 2014, you mentioned, when
a bit
Bitpoker launched.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so you've been through the rise and fall of Bitcoin through the years, and seen the change in the community, how they promote themselves. And what's your thoughts on the future of crypto and blockchain? Will this space, I don't know how you even to ask the question. Let's just start with this question. Will Bitcoin ever hit €1 million? $1 million?
That's a good question.
Because I want to know, I have some decisions to make here.
I don't have, I can't I can't predict the future in that regard. It will depend on the supply and on the demand. And that's actually the beauty of Bitcoin in general, that you don't know what's coming. It will depend on so many different aspects, and there's no one institution that's controlling it.
Okay.
So I don't know.
That's the political answer. Okay, very good. What do you see as the future in the crypto and Bitcoin space? Do you think that in the future fiat as a normal currency will be replaced by crypto? Do you think that blockchain technology will change the world?
To be honest, I don't think that fiat will be replaced. However, I do think that cryptocurrencies will come in stronger and stronger to just complement the whole banking system. And I think this is inevitable. It doesn't matter how much anyone would be pushing it back. Tech and innovation and blockchain and the opportunities that this brings on the table, how fast it is, how cheap it is, how transparent the blockchain as a system is. It cannot be hacked, you can't manipulate it. It's something that our generation is actually really craving for. We want a tool that's objective and is there over all of the different jurisdictions and can be very much be dependent on.
Yeah. Are there any use cases that you see? I mean, the space is developing very quick. Yeah, there's now NFTs is a thing, DeFi is a thing.
Overall, smart contracts.
Smart contracts, obviously, enabling DeFi and NFTs and all of this. What do you think are some of the more exciting opportunities right now in the blockchain space?
To be honest, so when I look back to the old days, and obviously from the very beginning, blockchain and cryptos have had this a bit of like a negative connotation to them, and I still feel that we are not doing it justice at all. Obviously, the adoption has increased a lot since last year when Elon Musk did it. So we did his thing, and MicroStrategy got on board, and obviously there have been a few good initiatives around the whole crypto environment. But I think as the general adoption increases, the ways that we can bring cryptocurrencies and blockchain into our everyday use will expand organically as well. I think that using cryptocurrencies as a regular currency just to live from do your everyday shopping or whatnot is the most exciting thing that hasn't been fully enabled. And I would like to see the time when cryptocurrencies make their way, for example, to my parents. My mom is already monitoring the price of Bitcoin, but I think she isn't quite there yet with going to a store and using a card with cryptos on it.
Yeah, there was someone who said that the end goal with kind of leveraging blockchain and crypto should be that the end user shouldn't know that they are using the technology. Mm-hmm. And right now it seems that the barrier to entry, to buy an NFT, for example, is like, okay, how do you buy an NFT? Like, all right, first you have to create your account on Binance, then you have to understand MetaMask, and then you have to transfer fund from Binance to the MetaMask, and then you have to, there's so many steps.
Yeah. Currently you have to be quite tech-savvy to...
Really tech-savvy. Mm-hmm. Really tech-savvy. And I think that's, I guess, in the end of the day, to quote Todd Haushalter of Evolution, he always says, when he creates games, your grandmother should know how to use it.
Yeah.
And that should be the...
And this is our mission. We are actually heavily focusing on increasing the general adoption as such. Why do you think we put the Bitcoin logo on EPL team shirt? Yeah. Or, for example, we've started up Learn Crypto, and the overall banking rails that we've been talking about as well, Coins.io as our product. This is meant for the general public.
Absolutely. Maarja, thanks for going to space with me today on all the various different types of topics. It's been great to get to know you in general, and finally to meet you in person as well. And just congratulations to the rebrand again, Yolo. Let's not forget about the name. Going places. And is there any last things from your end you would like to add before we take a break?
I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, and I'm really happy to be able to welcome you in Tallinn, my hometown.
I'm excited. Let's see if we are this fresh in a couple of days. But yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you so much.